Hello, I am Stuart Hall and I am running for president. In this video, I will be explaining how my theory, encoding and decoding, will be implemented in our society when I am president and help create a perfect society that is inclusive of everyone. So, to explain my encoding and decoding theory and how I am going to be implementing it into society, I must first explain the 4 codes that can occur. So first off is the hegemonic code. So this is when the encoder, the one stating the code, expects the decoder, the one interpreting that code in whichever way they do, to recognize and automatically decode whatever that code is in a certain way. So the encoder is more in control. Next is the professional code. So this code relates to the news, televisual quality codes, as well as professionalism codes. So again, this is implemented by society and follows certain rules. Now, the third code is the negotiated code. So this code makes its own ground rules and has exceptions. So as the title explains, it can be negotiated. Now, the last code, the oppositional code, as quoted in my writing, is possible for a viewer perfectly to understand both the literal and connotative inflection given to an event, but to determine to decode the message in a globally contrary way. So what I meant by this is that the message can both fulfill a need and be put into play in a society, as well as decoded kind of the underlying themes of that certain code that is being given by the encoder. Now that I have explained the 4 different kinds of coding that I have found in my research, I will be explaining how these different kinds of codings actually could impact society if used and manipulated in the right way into helping society become more inclusive in the way that I would like to do in my perfect society. So as I mentioned previously, I wanted to give an example of how this encoding and decoding by different people in society have has allowed for the creation of certain ways of thinking and certain ideals. So the major example that I would like to give is the one of 9/11. So the terrorist attack occurred in the United States, and through news outlets delivering this certain encoded code in this professional way, where there was a connection that was made between the Muslim communities and the terrorist attack that occurred on 9/11 being related. So this created a sense of an other in the United States society. So with this idea of an other, that it was encoded by news outlets and then decoded by the viewers, that somehow the 9/11 terrorist attack, since it was committed by people from the Muslim community, it then somehow, through encoding and decoding, created a enemy against the Muslim community in America. So there is a possibility through encoding and decoding in a different way that we could create new societal ideals and values and norms. So if you put out information in a certain way through a certain code that allows for the viewers or the watchers of whatever news outlet or that you use, you could then create a code for them to decode a certain way. Of course, this is not an easy task to do, but through my research, if you vote for me as president, I will be able to do this. I want to talk also about my education and research on gender and race, and how that will help me as president, and as well allow me to be a more rounded candidate and one that is here for all the people in this country. So through my studies of gender and race, I have really come across what the meaning of identity means and how identity is necessary in a culture and a society. So through my research of identity, I have discovered and selected this certain definition that cultural identity is, quote, a sort of collective one true self, which many people with a shared history and ancestry hold in common, end quote. Through this view of a cultural identity, I think that I could bring the people of this country together, and rather than see society and the different people and cultures in subcultures in a specific society as different, I think that it's important to remind ourselves that we are all under the same umbrella, and that these differences should not be what is bringing us apart and causing for this idea of an other against everyone else. Everyone should be under this one true idea of identity. So that is my little speech for what I hope has convinced you and shown you that I am a good candidate for president, and that I hope that you vote for me and I can set these ideals and research that I have come across and discovered throughout my life as a sociologist, and I can really put them into play in our society and create a place where everyone and everyone's identity is accepted, and everyone feels comfortable being who they are, helping kind of use the way that society has in the past created ideas of an other, and use that way of thinking and turning it into something positive, and turning it into a way that I could change the ideals that society has through the coding that occurs every single day. All right, thank you, and please vote for me, Stuart Hall, for president.